Welcome to Money and Purpose, a podcast about intentional wealth and aligning your money with what is most important to you. I'm your host, Marianne Poon, CFA charter holder and financial advisor. Joining me today is Naia Richardson of HomeWell Care Services here in Maryland. Naia helps families navigate in-home care from a few hours a week to around-the-clock support and plan for it before a crisis hits. Today, we are talking about what great care looks like, how to find it, and how a little planning now can give everyone peace of mind. Hi, Naya. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
So, can you tell us a bit about HomeWell, the team, and what you do?
So, HomeWell is actually a franchise. They've been around since the 80s. Our location is in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We've been there for about 7 years. We're a small team of about 10 people. My role there is as a care advisor. So, I'm not only the person who does intake calls and I'm the first touch that people have with the agency, but I also help them move through the process until they start services. We have a team that has dedicated care managers. We have a dedicated person who works with all of our caregivers. We have a nurse. And we also have other people on our team that do community outreach. So it's a really comprehensive experience with us. And I feel like we're able to help people navigate this process from start to finish.
I have a lot of clients, either themselves or adult children, helping to find care for their parents. And it's just so hard to find good care. Can you tell me a little bit about how your caregivers work and what does a typical day look like for a caregiver?
Our care process is pretty streamlined from the beginning and the initial assessment that we offer with Kathy, who is our nurse. She does the majority of our assessments, and she's really great at talking to families, not only about what their care needs are, but working through personality needs, cultural needs, needs when it comes to language barriers or language preferences. And then as far as the caregivers go, like day in the life for them can just be different depending on the client. Obviously, every client's needs are different. So we have caregivers that are more on the companion side where they're really interested in nurturing and building relationships with people to combat loneliness or cognitive decline, all the way up to caregivers who are more focused on activities of daily living. And that would be like personal care, assistance with showering, toileting, bathing. So we kind of have a really big group of people who enjoy providing all different levels of care. And I think with Kathy's support, we're really able to narrow down who's going to be the best fit for who. And I think that's one of the things that is beneficial when you go through an agency versus trying to find your own private caregiver is that personality and that cultural match.
It sounds like there's a lot of high touch points and not just like, here's your
Absolutely.
caregiver, goodbye, we're done. So, what's the difference between skilled nursing and what HomeWell does?
So with skilled nursing, it's a little bit more in depth. Skilled nursing services are able to assist with wound care. They're able to help manage different catheters. They're able to administer medication through IVs. So there's a little bit of a difference between in-home health and skilled nursing. A lot of that just involves different licensing. Caregivers have a certain certification. Their certification kind of limits their scope of practice. But the good news is that we do have somebody like Kathy on our team who has so many connections within this network. So a lot of times we're able to help people work with a skilled nursing facility, or even Kathy will come in and supply that support through our agency as well if she's able to do so. She's able to make recommendations either for skilled nursing facilities, or if she feels like it's something that she can personally handle herself, she will step in and provide that support for the families.
Got it. I mean, from a financial planning point of view, care is one of the largest unplanned events that families often face. And if you don't plan for it, it can actually cost like 10 times more than you would normally pay. You're in a crisis and you're just trying to get whatever is available, and then you're paying a high premium. So, can you just speak a little bit about how people can plan for this?
So I think a lot of times when I speak with families, even when they're in this crisis situation, especially families that already have someone who has been paying for a long-term care insurance policy, they're always a little bit hesitant to activate those policies. They don't really understand that the sooner that you activate it, the better, because a lot of these policies have elimination periods. These elimination periods can span from 30 days to 120 days. And a lot of those policies have language that dictates what that elimination period means. So some policies, when they say, okay, it's a 90-day elimination period, it means that you have to have a caregiver visit with you 90 times before the policy activates. Some policies just mean 90 days of service, meaning I could have somebody stopping by once a week for 90 days, and then that qualifies my policy to activate. So it really is about the intricacies of how these policies work and the family's willingness and readiness to understand what they're getting into. I think a lot of times people misinterpret what the policy means, or they misinterpret what financial services they have will cover this type of care. Unfortunately, for in home health, that's not specific to certain medical needs, it's not covered. So if you have a loved one who goes to a senior daycare, or they have a lot of doctor's visits, or they have chemotherapy, or they have dialysis, unfortunately, going through your government insurance is not going to cover transportation. It's not going to cover meal preparation. It's not going to cover a lot of those in between things that are outside of just their medical needs. And I think
Right.
that's the biggest thing that I have to explain to families is that you're able to seek out these services. However, it's not going to be as comprehensive.
Right. Sometimes people have long-term care policies and they don't even know what it means. So I try to help explain it, put together a summary for them. And if there's an elimination period, I'm like, don't wait, just file the claim. Or helping them understand what it covers, what it doesn't cover, and projecting out how much the care is going to cost. Can you just walk through how much does it cost to hire a caregiver? Um,
Sure.
and how many hours do people have to sign up for? What is the going rate these days?
So I would say that the going rate is really dependent upon how many hours and then how many days per week. I think that the lowest rate that I've heard of industry wide is around $32 an hour, and then it can go upwards of $55 an hour. We are very focused on taking care of families, but we also like to take care of the people that work for us. So we try to
Mhm.
make the rates as fair as possible so that we know that we're paying the people who are doing the job the proper amount. And that we're also keeping in mind the family's financial constraints and what their goals are in terms of what is your budget? Ideally, for this type of service, what would you like to pay? We definitely keep that in mind. And I think because HomeWell is a smaller agency, we're very flexible. We're able to negotiate. We're able to discuss as a team what we think the rate should be. And we really do try to provide families with support, even if it turns out that they're not able to afford us. We are more than happy to provide them with resources where we can make recommendations to other agencies, private caregivers, or even help them with web searches to find out exactly what they're looking for and exactly what they can afford.
And I think you said that your employees are W-2 employees, they're not just
Yeah.
contractors?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So with the W-2 model, I think the biggest thing that makes it important for families is liability protection. We are able to provide them with workman's compensation if they might be injured on the job. We're also licensed and bonded and insured by the state of Maryland. So if anything should happen, they also have that double layer of protection. On top of that, we're able to provide background checks. We really highly vet all the caregivers that work with us. We're able to make recommendations and requirements for vaccinations, CPR certifications. We're also able to provide support for the caregivers. So I think that that attracts a higher quality caregiver because they know that they're going to get sick pay. They know that they're going to get benefits. They know that they're going to be paid overtime. And I think it gives them a little bit more loyalty to our agency, but also it kind of steps their game up a little bit. They're more excited to work for an agency that's providing them with all this support, that's providing them with all of these benefits that they might not get being a 1099 employee. The other thing about that, just to go back to our conversation about long term care policies, is that a lot of times these long term care insurance companies don't accept caregivers that are not working through the W-2 model and working with an agency. So, for example, if you went to try to activate your long-term care insurance policy and this is a caregiver that you've hired privately, a lot of times your claim can be denied just because the caregiver doesn't meet the proper requirements for that.
Very good to know. So what's your youngest client and what's your oldest client?
I mean, honestly, we are able to work with anybody who's over the age of 18. I would say like our youngest client right now is 24.
Oh, wow.
and our oldest client is probably 102. So it is a really wide gap.
I think people have a preconceived notion that home care is for like you're about to die. And that's not always the
Yes,
case, right? So it
not at
sounds
all.
like if somebody had a surgery, like shoulder surgery or something, and they needed care, you don't have to be on death's door to need help, right? And
Exactly.
or sometimes people don't want to burden their family members, or maybe their family members live far away. So this is a nice sort of temporary thing that can help make your life easier.
Absolutely. And I tell people it's better to be prepared than unprepared because it's easier to have something already set up in the beginning than trying to set it up when you're in the throes of a chaotic experience that you weren't expecting.
For sure. So if you don't want to burden your family or friends, you should have your phone number in your back pocket, right? Is that-
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I work with a lot of people. I would say they're mid 40s, early 50s that are going through a surgical process. And I
uh
really champion them because they're being so proactive about, okay, so I'm having surgery on my shoulder, I'm having surgery on my hip or my knee. What do I need to put in place now so that once I have the surgery, if recovery isn't going well, I'm already synced up with an agency who is very aware of my needs, who has selected a group of caregivers who will work for me, and that way they can just kind of activate the service as soon as they need it instead of having to go through the whole research process, going through the assessment, and all of that.
So it's thriving adults who just have little blips and need some help. And I mean,
Absolutely.
and if you get care, you can probably heal faster and get on with your life faster, I imagine. So,
Exactly. And there's also a statistic that I feel like people are not aware of how often people return to the hospital after a procedure and after a life event. Um, on top of that, I feel like I work with a lot of seniors. I mean, this was something new to me that I learned through working with HomeWell the past 2 years. A lot of seniors go to the hospital for UTIs. And that's something that's easily preventable. And if you have somebody that's checking in with you or registering with you every few days, they'll notice that change before things get so bad that the UTI has caused cognitive effects. Because that's
mm,
usually what happens with seniors. UTIs turn into memory problems and cognitive issues and confusion. And then for a child who's unfamiliar with that information, they're completely confused and they have no idea what's going on. They don't know who to talk to when the fix is actually very simple.
right. I mean, you have healthcare people who are trained and see this every day, so they can spot patterns and know
Absolutely.
people. So I haven't been able to find any home care places that are 24/7. Can you tell us about your access?
So for HomeWell, for us, we're able to provide support 24/7. We also offer live-in services. What I think that a lot of people really love about our agency is how quickly we're able to mobilize and move. We have a
Mhm.
group of people that have been working together for years. We understand our communication not only as a team, but we're also able to quickly move through this process because we're also familiar with helping people right away. I mean, we're able to start services within 24 hours of your initial conversation with me. We can have somebody at your door literally that evening if the issue is really that pressing, if it's an immediate need. I think that for our agency, what really differentiates us is that high touch point. So, say we move forward and this is something that you need to happen right away. Like, we need to have somebody in there within less than 12 hours of your first interaction with us. If there's any complications or there's anything that's going on that, for example, if there's a change in condition, if there is an immediate need and then a week goes by and then the need is not as great, we're very flexible. And because you're able to have an immediate point of contact, meaning you're not having to call the agency and, press one for this person, press two for this person, everybody on our team gives out our cell phones. So we're able to really be in direct contact, even if it's easier for the person to communicate through text, because a lot of times, if you're in the hospital with somebody or you're in the rehab with someone, it might not be the best time to talk on the phone, but we can communicate through text. And that kind of open communication really helps people move through this process and allows us to provide them the support that they need, however much or little it might be. You might need 24/7 support for the first week. The second week, it might go down to 12 hours. The third week, it might go down to 4 hours. We're able to really help people and meet them at whatever level that they are throughout this process.
That's great. So how much does it cost anything to set up an initial consultation?
No, it doesn't. So with HomeWell, we actually provide complimentary assessments. We just ask that you set aside about an hour of your time. That's a pretty good amount of time for Kathy to get the full rundown and to get a great understanding and to make recommendations. We do also offer complimentary home safety assessments. So if your mom is, coming home from a surgery, she lives alone, we're able to help you walk through her home and say, okay, so we think that should have a grab bar here. We think that we should invest in a bedside commode, or she might need a hospital bed. She might need to move her bedroom down to the bottom level for now instead of being on the second floor. We're able to not only make these recommendations, but we're also able to help people navigate the insurance process so that they can try to get these modifications covered through insurance instead of paying out of pocket.
Amazing. Preventative also.
Yes, exactly. Because at the end of the day, some people are very well aware that their loved one needs more care than what they can afford. So by having these home safety assessments, we're almost guaranteeing a little bit more peace of mind. That way, if they know, like, hey, mom might be prone to falls, but I can't afford to have somebody there 24/7, we're able to help them modify the home in a way that makes it safe for mom to get up and use the bathroom by herself or get up and heat up a meal and things like that.
It's great. I guess there's no harm in acting too quickly and just have the assessment done and having your information on file. So
Absolutely,
then
and
people
that's
can
always
just
my
pick up right
recommendation.
away.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's the thing. I think that people fear being too proactive almost because they're concerned about what is the cost, and they're also concerned about changing condition. They're worried that if they do the assessment too soon and something changes, well, I'm gonna need another assessment, or they don't wanna jumpstart the process too quickly, but honestly, in my opinion, if you know that your loved one has health issues, or you know that they're prone to certain health issues, there's no real level of preparedness that you should be uncomfortable with. You have to understand that it's much easier to solidify something when you're not in the throes of chaos because you have to think about even how your brain is thinking about things. When you're in a
Yes.
rush or you're panicked, it's really hard to discuss certain things because you're going to leave things out because just being in that chaotic mood or that chaotic function. And I like the fact that we provide this support, like the home safety assessment and also the assessment in general, because you're able to speak to somebody who has 40 years of experience, who can make recommendations and also kind of, for lack of better words, like telegraph what's going to happen next. They're able to give you an understanding like, okay, this is what's going to happen when she comes home. More than likely, this is what's going to happen in the first week. This is what's going to happen the second week, and so on and so forth because we like
Right.
to help people prepare not only for what's happening now, but for being prepared for, okay, as care goes up or down, this is the next phase. This is what you should be prepared for next. This might be a temporary situation. However, if it's temporary, we can stop services. And then if you ever need us again in the future, we have all of your information and we're prepared to send either the same caregiver back out to you or another caregiver that meets your needs.
It's like getting the bat phone set up.
Exactly, exactly. You have somebody to call, and I think that that's also great because at that point in your relationship with us, you have my phone number, you've got a care manager's phone number, you also have our client services management's phone number. So you have so many people to reach out to and connect with directly. So you're not getting like the runaround experience or you're not speaking with somebody that doesn't know you.
Right.
Everybody's line of communication is very open at HomeWell, so I think that's really the biggest differentiator between us and other agencies.
Right. And then your preliminary information is already on file, so you don't have to repeat, like, here's my address, here's my phone number, here's all
Yes,
that stuff.
and
So,
that, but also, like, because of the area that we live in, it's very diverse. We meet with a lot of people who have requests for caregivers who speak certain languages, who are aware of, like, different religious constraints. For example, like, we work with a lot of people who keep kosher or with a lot of people who have religious, needs that they don't want pork in their home or something like that, and these are all things that we take into account when we hire or pick the caregiver that's gonna work with your family.
amazing. Is there anything else that you wanna share that I haven't covered?
I think the biggest thing that I would wanna share with you is that there is just no time too soon to not only reach out to an in-home health agency, but also to activate that long-term care insurance policy. Um, One of the things I wanted to touch base on about the long-term care insurance policies is that people oftentimes don't understand that they can actually retroactively activate that elimination period. So if they had gone to rehab or they've had a short-term stay in a PT facility, they're actually able to discuss with their long-term care insurance policy. So that way the elimination period isn't too long, and really getting into the depths of that policy. I know we have a woman on our team. Her name is Elaine Price. She does all of our work with all of these long term care insurance companies, and she is amazing at helping people navigate this process. We have somebody on our team that works with through our partnership with the VA. Her name is Danielle Chapman. She's amazing at helping people navigate that very complicated bureaucratic process so that we can help them access their benefits. So I really just enjoy working with HomeWell. I definitely, obviously, I'm biased, but from what I know, and speaking with other families that are coming to us from other agencies or private caregivers, we are one of the best, and we definitely take pride in providing top tier concierge service for our families.
That's awesome. And that's so useful to know about the long-term care piece because I mean, people spend their whole lifetime contributing to it. So you want to make sure that all this hard-earned money can be a productive thing for you.
Yes, and then on top of that, people also don't know that once you activate your policy, you stop paying that premium. So you can put the money that you're paying towards your premium towards that care during that elimination period before the policy actually kicks in. So that's something to know as well.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you for being a guest on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was amazing. I was so glad to speak with you and just talk to you all about this subject.